The Battle of Hallue was a battle of the Franco-Prussian War on December 23 and 24, 1870. The battle was fought between 40,000 French under General Louis Faidherbe and 22,500 Prussian troops under Edwin Fryer von Manteuffel. The French lost heavily in the village lying in front of their position. However, the Prussians were unable to carry the entrenchments on the heights. After the attack was repulsed, the French assumed the offensive, but with no decisive result. 1,000 French soldiers were killed, and 1,300 were imprisoned. About 927 German troops were killed and wounded. French Northern Army. After the fall of Amiens, on September 27, 1870, and its occupation by the Prussian army, the French Northern Army fell back towards Doullens and Bapaume to build up its strength again. It received a fresh supply of troops, allowing it to turn out 3 divisions. General Faidherbe, lately entrusted with the command of this army, at once gave guiding rules and orders. He sent General Lecointe towards Saint-Quentin with the mission to act on the Haute-Somme. 4 battalions, including one of light infantry and a battery of 4, succeeded, on September 9, in taking possession of Ham and its fortress. Faidherbe, coming on the place, gave the order to withdraw and go towards Amiens. On December 17, the Northern Army, regrouped, came settling to the Hallue Valley from Bavelincourt to Douars. The troops were divided into 2 army corps. The 22nd, with 2 divisions commanded by Major General Deringer and Major General Dudessel. The 23rd, with also 2 divisions commanded by Rear Admiral Moulic and Major General Robin. These troops were billeted in all the villages of the valley and outposts settled on a line passing through the woods of Saint-Gratien, Alenville and Querrieux. French Army tactical positions. On December 19, the 1st Division occupied Vardencourt, Bavelincourt, Beaucourt and Behencourt, keeping up the road to Arras. The 2nd Division kept Querrieux, Pont-Noyelles, Bussy, Douars and Becmont. The 3rd Division was in reserve. Its 1st Brigade kept watch over the Somme River, on Corbie and Fort Illoy, and detached a regiment on La Horsoy. The 4th Division, in the making up, was put up round Corbie. General von Goeben. General Faidherbe. Portrait 1860. General von Manteuffel. Prussian Army. At the same time, General von der Goeben, chief commander of the 8th Prussian Corps, set the 32nd Brigade into Amiens. The 31st Brigade was just arriving on Seines and the field artillery was on Ailly-sur-Noye. The 15th Infantry Division was along the La Luce River. The cavalry was on flank guard from Rosiers to Chaulnes. Skirmish on Querrieux, December 20. General Major von Mirus, in command of the 6th Cavalry Brigade, staying in Amiens for 2 days, sent a strong reconnaissance party consisting of a cavalry troop, an infantry battalion and a field artillery battery, to Querrieux village. Reaching the La Gorgue skirt, the party knocked against a French outpost and, sustained by its artillery, joined a lengthy battle. 2 French battalions strenuously fought back, so much that General Dudessel launched 3 companies coming from Bussy-les-Douars to the right flank of the enemy, who is constrained to a withdrawal towards the Alencons farm, then to Amiens. In this battle the Prussians lost 3 officers and 69 men killed or wounded. French casualties were 7 dead and 20 wounded. Battle on the Hallue Valley, December 23. Succeeding to General Steinmetz, General Manteuffel, recently appointed at the head of the 1st Prussian Army, arrived in Amiens on December 22 and gave the offensive order for the next day at 8 a.m. The 15th Division must attack straight to the river, following an axle materialized by the Albert and Corbie roads. The 16th Division, by the roads in the north of Arras Road, must outflank the right wing of French troops. An infantry brigade is kept in reserve. Part of the cavalry division must carry out the touch between the 15th and the 16th Divisions. Fresh supplies of troops shall be launched in the battle as soon as their arrival. French dispositions remain unchanged. The battle is going to stretch out a front line of 12 kilometers wide and 4 to 5 kilometers deep, on a snow-covered ground and an icy temperature increased by a wind blowing from the north. Arms guns. The French used the Scheibert Model 1866 breech-loading guns, with paper cartridges and 11 mm bullets. The Prussians used the Dries created in 1848, breech-loading guns, with paper cartridges and 15 mm bullets. Scheibert Rifle, Model 1866. Scheibert. Details of breech and ammunition. Detail of the ammunition. Dracer rifles. The third from the left is the first of the series. Cannons. The French used cannons made in bronze dating from the Napoleonic period, loading from the muzzle, and iron inner tubes ones, Model 1858. They also use cannons of ballast able to project 25 bullets. The Prussians used Krupp breech-loading cannons and shrapnel shells. French inner tube cannon, Model 1858. French gun in action. French cannon a ballast. Prussian offensive. The 8th Prussian Corps started on its way on December 23 at 8 a.m. The 15th Division received an order to reject French troops beyond the Hallue River, but not to venture on the left bank until the effect of an outflanking motion of the 16th Division, more on the north, would be felt. Therefore, the 15th Division moved towards Allenville, followed by 3-horse field artillery and artillery corps, then turned to Querrieux. French outposts withdrew to the river, giving the alarm to the troops located in the back. At about 11 a.m., the 29th Prussian Brigade, accompanied by 2 hussar troops and 2 batteries, on the Albert Road, ran against the French 18th Light Infantry Battalion, taking up Querrieux with the supply of 3 batteries. 2 Prussian batteries, soon reinforced by other 2 ones, were placed in the south of Albert Road. They started firing, and a particularly violent duel was launched. After an hour of firing, the Prussians took possession of Querrieux. The fight went on in Pont-Noëls, vigorously defended by the 18th Battalion of Light Infantry and 2 battalions of the 70th Infantry Regiment, received by a nourished fire started by some units of the Gislain Brigade, posted on the left side of the river. Prussians were stopped on the east of the village. At the same time, more in the south, the 20th Light Infantry Battalion of the Foester Brigade, keeping up the Bussy-les-Douars village, was attacked on a concentric action from a battalion coming from the north, 2 companies and a hussar troop coming from the east. About 1 p.m., the French evacuated the village. In the afternoon, in the west of a line Querrieux-Bussy, 42 Prussian cannons were set over against the same number of French cannons posted on the left side of the river. Then, in possession of Bussy-les-Douars, the Prussians moved forwards to Vecmont and launched a vigorous attack. They came up to the 19th Light Infantry Battalion and Marines of Captain Pearn Brigade, sustained on their right by the Foester Brigade. Under a hail of bullets, the Prussians were unable to progress. Manteufel himself came onto the heights above Querrieux on the west, asked for artillery fresh supplies, which arrived at about 4 p.m. The French Pearn Brigade was constrained to evacuate Vecmont and hold position on the left side of the river. In Pont-Noëls, at about 3:30 p.m., the Prussians tried to climb the hills on the east of the river, but after a counter-attack conducted by a 70th Regiment Battalion and a company of the 101st Mobile commanded by Captain d'Auterive, bayonet charging, the French again took the village, but they were unable to keep it up. Far in the north, the Prussian 30th Brigade successfully attacked Freckencourt. They were stopped by the fire guns of the 18th Light Infantry Battalion and a battalion of mobiles coming down from Parmont Wood. The Du Dressel Division held the heights on the north of Freckencourt. The 16th Prussian Division came from Amiens on the Doullens Road to Polinville and Raineville without seeing anyone all along the morning. At 1 p.m., General von Goeben sent an order to Barnekoff to turn to the right. Barnekoff made his way to Beaucourt-sur-Hallue and Saint-Gratien. Passing beyond St. Gratien, the 31st Prussian Brigade received an order to reach Montigny-sur-Hallue. At about 3 p.m., the Prussians brought into action with the 2nd French Brigade of the Dirigeable Division. After the fall of Montigny, they pushed the French back towards Behencourt, who, in their withdrawal, destroyed the Hallue bridges, but the Prussians, under a strong fire guns, launched a footbridge over the river. With fresh supplies coming from the 32nd Brigade, the Prussians took possession of Beaucourt, Montigny, Behencourt and Bouvelincourt, while their artillery took up position on the north of Fraconcourt. This artillery cannonade was without any success. The French artillery was on a higher position on Parmont Wood and too far away. Battle in the dusk on 4 p.m. Night was about to fall. The Prussians keep under control the right side of the river and Pont-Noël's village. Their turning movement on the north had failed and the troops were threatened by the Aisne Brigade of the Dirigeable Division, coming into sight on the southeast of Conté, marching to Beaucourt. At that time, General Faidherbe gave the attack order on all the front line. This attack continued from 4 to 6 p.m. In the center, General Lecointe, having assembled all troops still organized, launched an offensive on Pont-Noël's. 2 successive attacks went ahead, but his troops, the 18th Light Infantry Battalion and the 70th Infantry Regiment, not accustomed to night combat, had to withdraw, all the more that Manteuffel had launched 2 battalions to sustain his troops. In the south, the Foester Brigade succeeded in crossing the river between Querrieux and Bussy, but it was stopped by the fresh supplies sent by Manteuffel. At about 5 p.m., the Payenne Brigade launched an attack to Vecmont, but was stopped in its turn. At 7 p.m., the battlefield was in complete darkness. The Prussians held all the villages in the valley and billeted there. The French army was obliged to bivouac on its positions by night on the heights where on a snowy ground. The temperature fell to -8°C and an icy wind was blowing without any obstacle. Withdrawal movement on the next day, December 24 at 9 a.m. The French artillery launched a cannonade to Behencourt without any Prussian reply. General Faidherbe made up his mind to retreat. The withdrawal, protected by a line of retarding units, began at about 2 p.m. The Prussians would only start the pursuit on the following day, December 25. At that time, the French army was arriving near Bapaume. Memorials. A war memorial named Colin Faidherbe was erected in 1875, on the heights of Pont-Noël's, on the place where General Faidherbe directed the last combats. An ossuary contains the bodies of 74 soldiers killed during the battle in and around Pont-Noël's. On every village of the valley, many soldiers' bodies lie in their communal cemeteries. In the Querrieux communal cemetery, a military grave surmounted by a stela and a cavalry, erected in 1875, contains the bodies of 12 unknown French soldiers. Another grave, also surmounted by a stela, contains the bodies of 18 Prussian soldiers. Only the name of one of them is known.